They're not here. Ready?
Okay, we're good. Okay, we're on.
Yeah, reach.
This is what I need.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Sunshine Law. Notice of time, date, and place has been furnished to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News. Notice has also been posted on the bulletin board of the Administration Building. Will the clerk kindly take the roll?
Mayor Giordano.
Here.
Ms. Saracola.
Here.
Mr. Ritchie.
Here.
Mr. Schatz.
Here.
Mr. Shalero.
Here.
Mrs. Sherman.
Here.
Everyone kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us have a moment of silence for our Waldeck veterans and all veterans across our country who have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us free so that we could assemble as we are tonight in freedom. Clerk, do prayer.
We thank you for everyone gathered here now. Thank you that you know each of us by name and have caused us to walk with you. We say that we are dependent on you and our trust is in you completely. As we surrender ourselves in adoration, we ask that you would come by your Holy Spirit and inspire our hearts today. Come fill our lives with your love, fill our conversations with your grace and truth, fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise. Amen.
Amen. Good evening, everyone. And we're going to begin with our reports. My report, just a couple of items. This morning, I attended with our Administrator Patrick, our Clerk Kelly, and our Grant Administrator Matt, the 2022 Safety Incentive Award Program. This year, the Borough of Waldwick received the Gold Certificate Award for effective safety programs in Waldwick. We met the highest standards as required by our GIF. This is the second time that we have received the Gold Award. The first time was in 2020. Matt, our grant writer, accepted the award on behalf of the borough, and it is hanging in our conference room downstairs next to the other award that we received. Also, I spoke with the Ted Bell family, Melissa, who I've been in contact with, who is the daughter of Ted Bell, who is named, park was named after him that we are under construction doing. And we have set a date for the rededication ceremony. The rededication ceremony of the Ted Bell Park will be June 18th. It's on a Saturday at 12 noon. We thought it was a fitting time to have it because that's the day before Father's Day, and his three daughters will be at the event. So not only will we be honoring and rededicating the Borough Park, but we could also honor all fathers of the Borough of Waldeck as well. Also, this Saturday, the 16th, I was asked by the Baseball Association to throw out the first ball and speak at the opening day of baseball. If any members of the council would like to attend and watch me try to throw the ball over the plate, please be there at 9 a.m., but mostly be there to honor and to welcome the young residents to their new season. Last week, Patrick and I met with the young lady who is doing the Eagle Scout project at the HCA Park, the path in the back that she has talked about with us to widen the path, to clean it up, and make a path down to where the water is. We met with her. She had very good ideas. She's very, very anxious to start the project, and she's going to get a lot of help from different organizations in the town. We told her to reach out to the environmental committee so that they could go there and do like a cleanup with her. The DPW will help her also. Patrick spoke to her about what she has to do so that there's no problems with the EPA. And the path will end at the strip of water, at which time we are eventually putting a bridge to go over that. And another Eagle Scout project will probably continue after that one to make a loop come all the way around. So she is very interested and very excited to do this. She's very, very ambitious, and I think we're going to all be very happy to look forward to working with her with this project. That's all I have right now. Financial Administrative Committee, Mr. Shalero.
Thank you, Mayor. So this evening, if you've looked at our agenda, there's a number of items we're going to be discussing related to the budget and budget-related items, so I'll probably do most of my remarks at that time.
Thank you. Fire and Police Protection Committee, Ms. Irocola.
Thank you, Mayor. The fire department hosted the Academy for their annual confined space refresher and also made some in-house training props. During the rainstorm last week, they were out on the highway for a motor vehicle accident, and during our storm, our ladder truck assisted Saddle River with a small fire at a restaurant in their town. Our rescue is also on Route 17 with Saddle River and Wyckoff Fire Department for flooding. There were no rescues made, but we still had members in water suits in the water assessing the vehicles. As for the police department, we had more cars broken into at the covered tennis courts on Hopper Ave on the evening of March 25th. Entry was gained by smashing a front window for both vehicles, and various valuables, including wallets, were stolen. Yesterday, the police delivered approximately 14 used and/or expired bulletproof vests to the Bergen County Sheriff's Office. These vests will be turned over to the Ukrainian Holy Ascension Cathedral in Clifton. The church will accept the donations and handle all of the logistics for delivering them to Ukraine. One possible destination will be hospitals to be worn by doctors or nurses. And finally, Lieutenant Troy Seifert was accepted to the Mid-Atlantic Law Enforcement Executive Development Seminar held by the FBI at Princeton University. He will be joining approximately 60 law enforcement professionals from New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania for a week of executive-level training and networking activities. This is a highly selective and nationally recognized training opportunity, so I wish him the best. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Schatz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to point out the ambulance run call for March. They had 40 calls, with 7 of them as mutual aid. So they're starting to spread out and pick up a lot more calls during the year, the beginning of this year. Also, the planning board, we met last week, and we had 1 resolution adopted, and then 2 applications were done, one for a canine training company and a New Jersey fingerprinting company. And then environmental, I'll talk about it.
Thank you. Recreation and Health Committee, Mrs. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to point out to residents to look at the newsletter that's every week, and I'll just point out some highlights that are part of my committee. The pool registration is open for pre-sale through May 27th at 4 p.m. Get your $10 discount by pre-registering for our pool. Also on tonight's agenda, we're accepting a bid for the concession stand, which, an operator for the concession stand, which is great to see because people really liked it last year, and it's nice to be able to open that for our residents and our pool members. I'd like to remind everyone of the commemorative tree program that's listed on the borough website. $600, you could buy a tree of your choice. They have several kinds that you could choose from, and you get a plaque, and it's a lovely way to mark a birthday or a anniversary, a birth, or anything you would like to commemorate. Let's see. I had a WAFA meeting on March 4th, a Waldwick Access for All. They mostly discuss strategies for getting their name out. They have some jar openers they purchased during COVID. They want to try and distribute them, and they were looking to, they asked if they would, is there a possibility for them to march in the Memorial Day Parade? So they were going to reach out about that to get some site recognition. They also are getting a banner with their logo and their name, so they would be able to test it out if permission is granted for them to march in the parade. The 5K is Sunday, May 15th. I encourage all residents to get out there and get healthy and either run the 3.1 miles or walk the 1 mile. Let's see, Earth Day is coming up on April 23rd at 9 a.m. We're looking for residents to come and learn about ways to protect our earth and recycle. And we're also looking for residents and organizations to come and help with a cleanup, a townwide cleanup. We'll have the vets there handing out bags, and the beautification committee will be present to spearhead that cleanup day. So we're looking for lots of residents and lots of organizations. So if you're part of an organization, please gather your members and come out. Also on the News Blast are several summer camp opportunities for our youth. So look at the News Blast. That's very informative. Comes out every Friday, and it's jam-packed with very useful information. One of the items on that is a healthcare decision program to make sure that your wishes are upheld if you get into declining health. It's a Zoom meeting run by the Northwest Bergen Health Organization along with Hackensack Meridian Hospital. It's on April 26th via Zoom from 6 to 7, and you need to pre-register for that. So please go on to the borough website, look at the very informative newsletter, and you can find tons of information on there that will really help you out. Let's see. I attended the Fish and Chips dinner held by the Waldwick Fire Department, and it was wonderful. And I also attended the Waldwick Allendale PBA Easter egg hunt. And it's always a highlight of my year because I just love to see the little ones' joy on their face when they're running out there getting their little eggs. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie's not here right now, but he's on the phone. He's at a business trip. Mr. Ritchie, do you have anything to discuss with Public Works?
Thank you, Mayor. In the interest of being absent and it may be difficult to hear, I'll save my report for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Borough Administrator Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor. One item, we've recently been looking at parking in and around the train station, both in the New Jersey Transit lot, which we manage, and on-street parking in the borough right-of-way. We have an agreement with New Jersey Transit for management of the lot that is expired. Transit is looking to enter into a new agreement. So it's a good time now and to discuss both how that lot is managed, how our right-of-way on-street parking is managed, the rates for those, as well as what parking restrictions we have in order to best maximize our use of parking around the train station. Right now, obviously with COVID, we have a reduced usage of the lot, but we still have a wait list, and that's a frustrating thing, and I think we can work towards finding some solutions to remedy that. So I had asked the mayor if this could be referred to a committee, and he had chosen that to be referred to the Financial and Administrative Committee. So I will be reaching out to that committee in the near term to set up a meeting where we can discuss it. Prior to the meeting, the clerk and I have already started some fact-finding, getting rates from other nearby municipal and New Jersey Transit lots, as well as how those lots are managed. And we talked to New Jersey Transit today about the agreement, what they see in terms of trends, what they're looking for in terms of outcomes from new agreements. So we'll further that conversation with the committee.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
forgot, 2 things on my list. Can I go back?
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Sorry, I forgot 2 things on my list. I was jumping around and I missed Veterans Park. I went over there and looked at the new trees that were planted behind the water treatment tank. I did notice that they removed the netting that was around the tree trunk, but the root ball is still exposed. It needs more dirt put on that. Perhaps a mound of dirt would be helpful. So we really have to come up with a solution to keep that dirt there because I would hate to see those trees die. And the rock garden that is being put in by the chamber, Miss Karen Lovano Santoro, she had some boulders delivered and she marked the area where the project is going to be. She is going to have some of her workers there this weekend prepping the area. They trimmed some of the lower branches that would hit somebody in the head if they walked in the area. And this weekend, they're cleaning up the area a little bit, and they're going to have the fieldstone rocks delivered in the next week, and they're going to be contacting Kelly and Patrick to get some information and a request in the Friday News Blast. They're looking for 6 to 12-inch rocks. If any borough residents are getting rid of them, they're looking to take them off their hands. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Borough Clerk Kelly.
I have no report, Mayor.
Wow. Grant Administrator Matt.
I just would like to reiterate what Councilwoman Sherman said in regards to the pool concessions vendor. We are happy to see JPC Catering once again submit a request for proposal. I had tried to reach out to several other vendors, but none were too interested. So he did a great job last year, so I see no reason why it shouldn't be another good summer season for him this year.
Thank you. Borough Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. No report this evening.
Consent resolutions and resolutions of the governing body.
Thank you, Mayor. Be it resolved that the following resolutions herewith listed by consent, having been considered by the governing body of the Borough of Waldwick, are hereby passed and approved. 2022-143, approval of consent. 2022-144, approval of minutes, regular meeting, March 22nd, 2022. Policy vote A, the Forum School requests to use the pool parking lot on Friday, May 20th for the school day to allow their school grounds to be used for their annual walkathon. B, the village school requests to use the pool parking lot on Friday, May 13th for the school day to allow for setup of their event on the school grounds on May 14th. C, the Waldwick Chamber of Commerce requests to hang a banner for the 5K run event on the fence at the end of East Prospect Street near Route 17 from April 7th through May 16th. D, Jessica Mays requests to use Pavilion A on May 21st from 1:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. for a birthday party with alcoholic beverages being served. E, Donna Palladino and the Italian American Social Club of Waldwick requests to use Pavilion A on May 22nd from 11 a.m. to dusk for a club picnic with alcoholic beverages being served. F, Leah and Brian Achu requests to use Pavilion A on June 26th from 12:30 p.m. to dusk for a baby shower with alcoholic beverages being served. G, Nadia Cernatinger requests to use Pavilion A on July 16th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. for a birthday party with alcoholic beverages being served. H, Stephanie Lupo Latore requests to hold a block party on April 23rd from 2 to 7 p.m. with Grove Street to be closed between Nordham and 79 Grove Street with alcoholic beverages being served. 2022-145, authorize advertisement and receipt of bids for the ADA curb ramp upgrade project. 2022-146, authorize execution of grant agreement with Bergen County Community Development Block Grant for Harrison Avenue roadway improvements. 2022-147, change order number 1 and final payment to Arista Builders and Designers, Inc. for public safety building installation improvement project. 2022-148, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Core and Main LP in an amount not to exceed $43,500. 2022-149, award a contract to JPC Catering for concessions operation at the Waldwick Municipal Pool. 2022-150, approval of raffle license 2022-02 for the Waldwick Lions Club. 2022-151, approve Waldwick Lions Club request for the borough services in conjunction with the Family Days Carnival. 2022-152, accept donation of 2 swamp white oak trees. 2022-153, authorize release of dumpster escrow for 93 Grove Street. 2022-154, accept resignation of part-time clerk 1, Jamie Grimaldi. 2022-155, appointment of part-time clerk 1 in the municipal court. 2022-156, approval of Ezekiel Cortez and Albert DiClemente to enroll in CDL entry-level driving training. 2022-157, payment of vouchers.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept? Motion by Don, second by Paul. On the question. Before I'm going to just do a couple of them. Just a couple of the items here. 2022-147, the final payment of the builder and design. They're making their final payment to us. So now, once they do that, what we do is we release their the bond to them, so that now everything is all even. Also, the two swamp oak trees, that's, we reported a couple of weeks ago. That's the two trees that have been donated by the Goodell family. One tree is at the 9/11 Memorial. The other one will be planted here in the building area in front where the American flag is. And then also 2022-155, the municipal court clerk. I met her today. She's a very nice woman. She's very knowledgeable of the laws and very knowledgeable of the court. So I think it was a wise choice to bring someone in that was very experienced, who we took out of retirement to help us and work with the borough. Don, you had some stuff?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Just want to mention, make a comment on 2022-145, the ADA curb ramps. Just want to mention this because, you might see us reconstructing ADA curb ramps where they already exist. The specifications for the curb ramps have changed, so we have to redo them even if they're currently there. And we seem to, and we try to focus on those roads where we're currently doing construction, repaving, so that it's all done at the same time. So just so if anyone sees us redoing curb ramps where there already are some, it's because the specifications have changed. The second is, I want to mention 2022-146, the Community Development Block Grant for Harrison Avenue. And basically, this is a process that started last year. And we applied for funds through the Bergen County Community Development Block Grant Program to make improvements to Harrison. We're very fortunate that a number of years ago they expanded the criteria that we can now include these programs because they weren't allowed before. And we're even more fortunate, we were awarded $113,790. So basically, we are accepting it, and we're authorizing the municipality to continue with this project using the funds from the county.
Anyone else? If not, clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Will the clerk read resolution number 2022-158 by title?
Sure. Resolution number 2022-158 is the waiver of reading in full of the 2022 municipal budget.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept? Motion by Don, second by Paul. Don, would you like to?
Thank you, Mayor. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is the municipal budget, so we're waiving reading of it. If you didn't get a chance to read in advance, it's still time for you to read it. It's on the website. It's available for pickup here as well. So we don't want to have that read into the minutes. We'll just put it into the minutes.
Right. Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Will the clerk read resolution number 2022-159 by title?
Sure. Resolution number 2022-159, self-examination of the 2022 municipal budget.
Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Don, second by Paul. Don?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this one is, kind of interesting. Each year, the state reviews municipal budgets before we're allowed to act on them. However, they can't possibly review every municipality's budget every year. So when you are a municipality like ours that has been in good financial standing with the state, you could bypass that review and do a self-examination as long as we certify that we follow the items listed here, we pay interest on our debt, and so on and so forth, whatever the state criteria is. So basically, we are bypassing the state's process this year by conducting a self-examination.
Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, and at this time, we're going to have the adoption of our 2000,
Public hearing.
right, of the municipal budget. I'm sorry, the public hearing. Before we do the public hearing on the budget, tonight we are adopting our 2022 budget. I would like to thank our administrator, Patrick Weary, our CFO, Colleen Ennis, our Borough Clerk, Kelly Hollowitz, our Grant Administrator, Matt, and all our department heads who worked very hard to put together this budget that we are presenting tonight. I would also like to thank our council, who did a great job in reviewing all the requests from all the different department heads and working together as one unit on a budget that is fair and responsible. For the last 10 years, we were very proud to have a flat municipal tax. This year, we tried our very hardest to continue that tradition, but with the way expenses are going up and salaries, we cannot hold the tax flat. The borough, as always, and will continue to maintain a municipal service, giving superior service to all our residents. Even though we are adopting this budget tonight, we have already started looking at 2023. Your mayor and council who are here with you tonight have always looked to the future and always planned ahead for our borough. We can never promise anything when it comes to taxes, like anything else, or household, or anything like that. But we will never stop thinking and working hard for our residents and for all of our residences tomorrows. So tonight, we will have the public hearing on the budget. Anybody from the council here would like to discuss this budget before we open it up to the public?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, the mayor laid the foundation real well for this. You know, this is a very important process for the borough. The governing body and our staff takes this process very seriously. And, you know, we've talked about this during our budget deliberations and during the introduction of the budget. So we'll get into a little bit more and remind you about some of the things we've already talked about. So when we do our budgeting, it takes several forms. You know, we have the budget for the borough and we have a budget for our water utility. We have an operating budget for each and a capital budget for each. The capital portion includes funding for building upgrades, building maintenance, repaving, repairing roads, investing in the technology that helps our borough function efficiently. We have vehicles that we purchase and maintain and upgrade. And all these things together help us provide services to the community. And, you know, some of these capital projects are funded by the borough taking on some debt, and some is funded from current funds. So the process is the staff gets together in the latter part of the year, probably starting around the fall, early fall, on putting together requests from the different departments, and it comes together early in the new year and comes to the mayor and council, where we review the budget and we meet and we talk about our priorities and decide what we're going to bring forth to this part of the process. So it's not only a process that goes back to last year. As the mayor suggested, we're already looking ahead to future years' budgets, but we also are the beneficiaries of prior years' budgets, where we have exercised good fiscal responsibility, good fiscal management, and good fiscal policies. So a couple of things we want to point out. You know, every once in a while, and we don't do this every year, but I think it's worth reminding us, you know, municipalities like businesses get financial ratings, and we've always enjoyed a good financial rating from Moody's Investor Services. We are an AA2 municipality. A couple of things that means for us is we're very attractive for investors. So when we look to purchase bonds, we secure them at very favorable rates. And people want to do business with us. We pay our bills. We're a sound, fiscally managed municipality. And hopefully that attracts businesses and residents to our municipality alike. So a couple of things that we also like to remind ourselves and the community at this time of year, because everyone's always saying, you know, how can we reduce costs? Well, we look at shared services. That's always a big one we talk about. Where can we do more shared services? And, you know, we look for these opportunities all the time, but there's a number of things we already do in terms of shared services that we think helps manage our costs where possible. It's not always possible. But we do share a salt shed with Allendale. We do share a leaf grass transfer station with Ho-Hocus. And that used to be a little more active partnership before we found an even better partner, where we outsource our leaf grass transfer facility, where it costs the borough $0, and actually we derive some revenue from that instead of spending about $90,000 a year. We support and work with the Board of Ed in exchange for things they provide to the borough. We provide them with the ability to fuel their vehicles. We collect their garbage and recycling. We maintain the fields at Trapehagen. We maintain the track at the stadium. We allow the grad ball committee use of the former DPW garage at the Oval. No cost. The borough owns tennis courts. We make them available to the school programs, both women and men's varsity and JV and whatever other tennis teams they're fielding. And as you'll see on just about every agenda for the rest of the year, requests from different clubs, activities, graduating classes that want to use the borough pool for their year-end picnic, swim, or whatever they call it. We have a repaving program that we partner with about 11 or 12 Northwest Bergen communities, hosted by the Borough of Ramsey. We pool our purchasing power to help our dollars go further in our road repaving program. And we secure our property and liability and workers' comp insurance through the Bergen Joint Insurance Fund, which is a statewide program, but we're members of the Bergen Joint Insurance Fund, which is about 38 northeast and northwest Bergen County municipalities. So a couple of things we're going to look at when we talk about the budget, and you know, it just serves as a good reminder as we go through the budget. It's a very lengthy document. I mean, you see the final product here. We have spreadsheets and a binder that we get from our staff that we use as a working document. And there's a lot of good information in there. Some of the things that are contained in this budget are things that we have no discretion over. They're items that we are basically charged with funding for the given year. Probably the best example outside of payroll is the largest item in our budget is our annual assessment from the Northwest Bergen County Utilities Authority. Now, like everything else in the world these days, costs are going up. So in 2021, our assessment from the authority was $1,687,000. That was for our sewer treatment for the year. In 2022, our annual assessment is $1,789,000. That's an increase of $102,000. We already fund our library. Now, we all enjoy our library. We all take advantage of our library. There's something there for everyone. Realistically, in reality, the borough doesn't decide how much to fund our library. We're mandated by state formula on how much to fund our library. So in 2021, our library assessment was $575,763, and in 2022, it's $609,570, an increase of about $34,000. And there's other things in our line item like that. Cost of our insurance is going up. I'm sure we're all seeing that in our businesses and in our personal lives as well. In 2021, our joint insurance fund assessment was $316,000. And in 2022, it's almost $340,000, an increase of about $24,000. So those are expenses that you can't really get around. They're fixed. They're assessments. We have to pay them. And some of them, you know, we have no control over for the most part. Just one other line item that I like to point out during the budget process and now here during the public hearing. In each of our budgets every year is a line item called Reserve for Uncollected Taxes. Now, you know, you might think, and partially correctly, is, you know, we can't collect 100% of our taxes every year from every resident. So we have to have some way to fund our budget without being able to collect those taxes. So that's part of it. The other part of it is the borough collects all the taxes for the school district as well as Bergen County. And if we don't collect taxes from someone or from many property owners, we still have to pay the school district and the county their portion of the property taxes. So even though we don't collect them, we still have to pay. So there's actually a line item in our budget called Reserve for Uncollected Taxes, and this year we're funding that at $948,000. So, you know, you start to get a pretty good idea of how the budget comes together when you're starting from the point that we have to do these things, and then we decide on other kinds of things like, you know, compensation and benefits for employees, and other discretionary things that go into our budget. If we don't have a staff, we don't have services. You provide, employees with benefits, with retirement benefits, all the things that any employer has to provide. Employees need supplies and equipment to do their jobs. So these aren't, while they're not mandated expenses, they're pretty important in the scheme of things for us to be able to provide the services to the community. Some of the other line items where we have a little discretion, but again, they're necessary items, are things like utilities. We pay gas and electric just like everyone else. You see a lot of street lights out there. We pay for all of those. We have to fuel our vehicles with gasoline and diesel. We purchase road salt. We have to repair our vehicles. We have to maintain our vehicles. So these are things that, based on prior experience, we make an educated guess at the level of funding based on the age of our equipment and our vehicles, and we do the best we can trying to forecast that. Other discretionary spending, once you get past all of those things, if you think there's anything left, we try and do things like converting our print records to digital. We maintain our buildings, we paint them, we repair roofs, we repair HVAC systems, things like that. We try and bring concerts and other fun things to the community. Every once in a while, we have some new initiatives. Several years ago, we started cardboard curbside pickup. Then we had an environmental committee appointed that started styrofoam collection days. And while these things in themselves isn't that expensive to do, there's still new expenses that we've taken on in recent years. So one of the things that makes us feel good when we're doing the budget and putting it together is there really is value in our budget for every member of our community, every resident of our community. We repave roads, maybe not as fast or as much as people would like, but we do the best we can. If you actually look at our budget, a substantial portion of our capital budget is in road repaving. We equip our DPW that maintains our parks, our roads, our buildings. All of this enhances our quality of life. Whether you drive through town after a snowstorm and you marvel at how well cleaned our streets are compared to neighboring communities, or you just use our parks where everything's working properly and it's just a pleasant place to spend a summer afternoon. So we're going to continue to do all of those things, of course, costs going up. We mentioned some of them. Of course, we have payroll costs that go up, health benefits, pension, all those things go up as well. So for the first time in a little over 10 years, we're introducing a budget with a 2% tax increase. If you want to know what that means for you, you could figure it out by the formula that 2% for the average home valued at $422,800 is $44 for the year. So figure out what the cost of your home is, add 40 some odd dollars, give or take, and that's what your tax increase will be for all the things we just mentioned. You have a library. We provide sewer. You know, I think we all know someone who lives in a town where sewer is a separate bill from your property taxes. We do a very nice job maintaining our roads, both during good weather and bad. We do have some nice parks that we continue to make improvements in, and we do the best that we can within reason. So a couple of things that we like to remind people about. You know, we did talk about during the introduction of the budget, we put a number of items up on our website to help people understand where your tax dollars go. So you don't have to read this unless you really like numbers. We put together a budget brochure. Some of you may have seen it, if not this year, perhaps in prior years, that gives you a nice overview of where our tax dollars go. So we try and remind people that you know, the borough operations that we talk about here and the things that we do here is just one part of where your tax dollars go. We collect all your tax dollars. We do not keep all your tax dollars. So what you see in this, and it's very prominent on the front page, is the Borough of Waldwick gets about 20% of your tax dollars, and that includes your library. If you look at that and you see why is the library separate, it's just something the state made us do a number of years ago to kind of separate out where the library falls on your assessment. So about 20% of your property taxes go to the borough, including the library and all of our operations. 10% goes to Bergen County. If you want to know what they do, that's a different meeting and a different website. The school district gets about 70% of our tax dollars. So, you know, when we're talking about tax increases and both percentages and real dollars, just kind of keep those things in mind. A 2% tax increase here for the borough for 2022 is about $44 for the average homeowner in Walden. So, as the mayor said, our staff does a great job, not only in budget preparation, but also in managing this budget throughout the year. We really do look for ways throughout the year, whether it's shared services. We seek out purchasing co-ops where we could purchase items and services at the best costs. We probably belong to a half a dozen or so, in addition to the state contract where you could go and purchase items. So we work really hard to get the most out of our tax dollars and, you know, doing what we can with the money that we have. Over the past couple of years, one of the things I started looking at, you know, based on my experience and what we're seeing in the world is, you know, what do we see beyond 2022? Because I think we've handled 2021, a very difficult year, as well as could be expected. 2022 is off to a reasonably good start. We've got some good plans for some activities in the community. But, you know, the world is ever-changing, our state's ever-changing, and there's things that impact us and our costs and what we're able to do that we don't control. For instance, we've already talked about the cost of the sewer authority charges. We have very little control over those things. We have increasing costs of insurance, which, based on the things we've been hearing the past couple of years, are just going to continue to worsen. We have increased cyber risk, so that's a whole new challenge for us. Cost of energy, and we don't know where that's going to wind up. We've all seen the swings in gas prices over the years and especially over the past year, and I think that's just going to continue. A big concern for any municipality in New Jersey is the state of New Jersey. You know, they have some challenges and some issues. Some of them trickle down to us and some don't. So, you know, we always have to be wary of those kinds of things. So, you know, we focus on our municipality. You know, we're all taxpayers here. We all want the best services for the least tax dollars possible. But we do deserve services, and we do expect them, so the borough's here to deliver. So that's all that I wanted to say. Thank our department heads again, Patrick, Kelly, Colleen, Matt, Mike Latour, all do a nice job in preparing the budget and executing during the year. And that's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Shalero, for the very descriptive representation of the borough. You know, what he presented is a lot of where we stand today, but we also, as the mayor alluded to and Councilman Shalero alluded to, all have already started looking forward to future years. And I think we're well positioned to have consistent taxes in future years where we don't see large, you know, year-over-year increases or spikes in any one given year. Our labor agreements are all settled. They were settled early this year, one for 3 years, one for 4 years. All of our departments and positions are fully staffed. Our debt service will be consistent in future years. So all things that are good indications that we will have future years with consistent taxes, which is always promising.
Anyone else? If not, anyone from the public would like to discuss the budget that was just presented to you? You could just kindly come up, state your name and address for the record at the microphone.
Eric Laporta, 3 Van Dam Place, Waltham. Hello, everybody. Just a question, Mr. Shalero was just saying about the utilities. It was a $106,000 raise. Did they give information why they raised it, number one? And number two, was it, when we got our raise of $106,000, was that compared to the other 14 Bergen County towns, the amount of increase, if they got an increase also?
Thank you, Mayor. So the Bergen County Utility Authority assessment is based mostly on usage. So the fact that our rates went up is a large function of that is based on our usage increasing. So, we had years where, our sewer flows were lower for either less people being home during the day. Obviously, during COVID, we see more people here and using the facilities. The other thing is, depending on what the rainfall is, we have a certain amount of inflow and infiltration into any system, and that will drive rates. So a large portion of our increase is just increased flow. Then obviously, another portion of that is, what types of expenses they're incurring down at the authority. The authority provides us and members of the public with their budgets, with all of their agendas and resolutions, ordinances, things that they're spending money on. I'm not aware from the utility that there's any one charge that's driving a large year-over-year increase. So specifically, no, I believe the majority of it is based on usage.
Was our increase compared to other towns or just usage? Now, if our flow goes down next year, are they going to lower they will lower it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's similar to the municipal budget in that part of it is a function on usage, but part of it is obviously a function on their expenses. They strike their budget, and then they spread their budget among, based on usage among the municipalities.
See, I know for a fact the trucks that come down there, I know one guy, and they, from a company, and they didn't raise them at all this year for the drop, for the waste that goes down.
They didn't raise the rates for trucks that they're accepting. Yeah, that may be the case.
I mean, doesn't that seem a little different? They're not raising theirs, but you're raising the towns.
Well, again.
You know what I'm not,
Yeah, that's.
it seems a
yeah,
little different, that's all.
The authority sets their rates, and so that will be a question you could take up with the authority. But
I know there's a
generally,
meeting
if they
tonight,
take in,
too.
if they take in one truck and they set a rate per truck of what they're taking in, that's basically the flow for a truck. Our flow has increased. It increased last year, which results in a higher assessment this year. And so, but anything beyond that would be a discussion with the authority.
My question is it for all the 14 Bergen County towns that you know of?
Yes,
The
they
same thing with
yes,
how they
absolutely. It
measure
is equally spread among those counties. Now, that doesn't mean that each county,
Town.
that each town pays the same, but our per usage rate is flat across
Now, if
every
they don't
county
pay the
that they
same,
service.
if, say, Walden is higher by a minuscule and Allendale is lower, why, when the sewer authority's in our town?
We don't
You know what I'm
get a
saying?
credit for the authority being in our town.
We don't.
No.
All right. Okay,
The state statute doesn't allow it.
even though it's in Walden? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, then we'll go to the next one.
Al Colden, Dante Place. Usually, everything this council does and the town does, I'm 99% for. But every once in a while, I gotta get serious. Now, I got a letter in the mail that, because of my age, I shouldn't be drinking the water here. I know I shouldn't be bringing it up because probably nothing's gonna happen, but I'm talking about the future, maybe. I mean, I'm spending more for bottled water right now than I am for water from the town. All I use it is for the toilet bowl, period. Isn't there some way maybe in the future you could give the people a little break, maybe a 10% break on the water bill? And, you're kind of setting something that I think the people might like. You might get a kick out of it because you're showing them that you're trying to do something for them. I know you're working hard to get the water straightened out, but, it's just very, very costly. Now, if I can't drink the water and if I can't buy the water, what am I supposed to do? Anyone got any suggestions?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. To give a refund or a discount on the water, that money has to come from somewhere, right? And so our water utility is supported by ratepayers. The money we take in, all from ratepayers. If we were to provide a discount, it would either be at the cost of services that we now can no longer provide, which isn't reasonable, or raising that money somewhere else, which we don't have the ability to do. And I think at a time when we anticipate more expenses in the water utility, the infrastructure required to treat for PFAS will likely cost the borough around $3.5 million. And so to provide a discount, while I agree it would be a benefit to the residents and would make them feel good, it's not practical to provide a discount in a moment when we expect to have a $3.5 million expense that we did not forecast 3 years ago. As far as the water and the drinkability of it, the DEP hasn't required that we switch to an alternate water source. They have provided guidance for specific groups of individuals that may seek additional information from their physicians, and maybe you fall into that. They have also indicated that the use of a water pitcher, or like a at-home filtration system, may reduce the levels of these chemicals by up to 50%. So if you are concerned with the price of bottled water, you may at least consider the use of an in-house water filtration system, which would be much less expensive than purchasing bottled water.
I've got one now. It's a 4-filter system, but I still don't feel safe with it.
Yeah.
How do I know what it's really taken out
Yeah.
out of the water, you know? Yeah, you really never know. It's just a situation that it can't be helped, but are we talking 2 or 3 more years of this, or you're talking possibly, you know, you probably can't give me a timeline, but
Well, we expect to begin
Just
construction this
wondering.
year.
I know you're working on it, but
We expect to begin construction this year.
excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else
On the budget.
on the budget? If not, then we will have a public hearing on the municipal budget amendment. Anybody from the council would like to discuss this?
I can make a note on it if you'd like, Mayor.
Sure.
So there's a budget amendment before the mayor and council. At the time that we had provided the original budget, we did not include a grant that we had received. It's a recycling tonnage grant in the amount of $7,286. So the amendment is to add that $7,286 into the budget under public and private programs offset by revenues. It's titled Recycling Tonnage Grant. And the increase in appropriation under that grant line results in a decrease under our recycling line by this exact same amount, $7,286. So this has no effect on the overall appropriations. It doesn't affect the revenues. It doesn't affect the municipal tax rate or the amount to be raised by taxation. There are a lot of, you'll see on the resolution, which we'll vote on later, you'll see a lot of lines that this affects because you change one line, and each of these lines affects about 6 or 7 other lines. But those are all roll-down lines. Like I said, it's one change to appropriate money under a grant line and to remove that same appropriation from the recycling line. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public would like to comment on this resolution to amend 2022 municipal budget? If not, we'll go into resolution. Clerk, kindly read Resolution 2022-160.
Sure, resolution number 2022-160, resolution to amend the 2022 municipal budget.
Do I have a motion and a second from the council? Motion by Don, second by Paul. On the question. No questions? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, would the clerk kindly read resolution number 2022-161?
Sure. Resolution number 2022-161, adoption of the 2022 municipal budget.
Do I have a motion and a second from the council? Motion by Terry, second by Paul. Anyone have a question on this? If not, clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
No.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Now we have a couple of public hearings. First one, would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-07?
Ordinance number 2022-07, an ordinance amending Chapter 97 zoning, Article 11 zoning, Section 123.7, off-street parking and loading to add F, installation of electric vehicle supply and service equipment and make-ready parking spaces.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Yeah, I can introduce it, Mayor. This is a model ordinance that was established by the state. It went into effect in September of last year. That's the effective date. Without the municipality adopting our own ordinance, the state's ordinance is already in effect. So we're going to adopt our own ordinance. It helps by having it on our books, so it's clear that it's part of our municipal code, and we are able to make small changes to specific sections. So the state does not allow us much discretion over how we adopt this. Changes may only be made to the reasonable standard section, which includes things like the installation of these electric vehicle charging stations, sight lines, setbacks, those types of items. The ordinance states that application for a charging structure is deemed a permitted accessory use and a permitted accessory structure in all zones, so it does not require the approval of any land use board. This applies it also includes requirements for charging stations to be installed in multiple dwelling residential as well as, or that has 5 units or more. It includes requirements for parking lots and garages, and it is applicable to the zoning code parking requirements. So anywhere in the zoning code where a specific parking requirement is stated, it would also have requirements for electric vehicle charging stations to be installed.
And the other day, this was presented to the planning board, just for their review to look at it, and the planning board unanimously said that this was perfectly set up and it's the right thing to do. Anyone else? I close the council's comments, open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Katie, second by Terry. Please take the roll.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
The clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-09.
Sure. Ordinance number 2022-09, bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new, additional, or replacement equipment and machinery, new communication and signal equipment, systems equipment, and a new automotive vehicle, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the Borough of Waldwick in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $2,072,500 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate federal and state grants, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You know, we've been talking about our capital investments for quite some time. You know, I think it's, really nice the way this is laid out so you could see where we're spending money. You know, some of these are recurring projects. We talk about road repaving each year. Sometimes it's our own road repaving project. Sometimes we get a matching grant. New items to the budget this year, repairs to White's Pond Dam. The dam gets inspected periodically, and it's recommended we make some repairs. So it's time to do that. So, one of the things to point out here is, we're saying that we're going to invest a little over $2 million in our community. And, we said that we seek out grants wherever we can. So, when you look at the grants that we're going to be receiving to offset some of these costs, it's almost $530,000. So for about $2 million in capital improvement, we're going to be taking on bond anticipation notes for about about $1,469,000. So I think we do well to invest in our community, And then, as I said, with our rating, we enjoy very favorable bond rates, and, look forward to that continuing.
Anyone else from the council want to comment? If not, I close the council's comments and open it up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be advertising it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Don, second by Paul. Clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Shad?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-10?
Ordinance number 2022-10, bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new, additional, replacement equipment and machinery and new information technology and telecommunications equipment in, by, and for the water utility of the Borough of Walwick and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $376,475 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? Don?
Thank you, Mayor. And, earlier we said that we work on budgets for both the borough and the water utility. This is the water utility capital budget. Typically, we will invest in the first item about $125,000 a year repairing and replacing water mains, fire hydrants, and other equipment that helps us operate the system. We have some additional expenses this year. We're going to be investing in some improvements at our well houses, so that's some additional cost. But as was said earlier, these aren't notes that will be repaid by taxes. These are all funded by the water utility, which is funded by water rates and water payers. So that's why it's done separately, and that's why it's a separate measure.
Anyone else from the council would like to comment? If not, I close the council's comments, open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Katie, second by Terry. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Shad?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-12?
Ordinance number 2022-12, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-08, fixing the compensation, salaries, and wages of officials and employees of the Borough of Walwick.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Thank you, Mayor. So in our ordinances, we have a listing of the compensation for borough employees. Now, some of them are dictated by collective bargaining units, so our police and our DPW workers, and their salaries are set by those agreements. By ordinance, we have to set salaries and wages and compensation for all other employees, and we try and catch everyone in this ordinance. So we set the minimum, maximum salary range for every position in the borough, and this guides us throughout the rest of the year.
Anyone else from the council? If not, I close the council's comments, open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Paul, second by Don. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Shad?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Now we have Resolution 2022-162, the authorization of salaries for 2022. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Don, second by Paul. On the question, anyone? Don?
Thank you, Mayor. So, we just passed an ordinance identifying the salaries for different positions. This is identifying the specific salaries for the people in various positions. So this resolution, again, is for any employee in the borough that does not fall under a collective bargaining agreement, and this will set their salary for 2022.
Anyone else from the council? Okay. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracolo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Will the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-13?
Ordinance number 2022-13, capital ordinance of the Borough of Walwick in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $87,200, authorizing improvements to the Pistol Range roof, garage doors at Waldwick Ambulance Building, procurement of a tire machine, mason dump body, fire hoses and appliances, MSA multi-gas meter calibration unit, and AED units, appropriating therefore the sum of $87,200 to be funded through the Capital Improvement Fund.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Thank you, Mayor. So, these were items that during the budget process, we agreed to include in our capital improvement program for the year. What's different is it's how we're funding these items. The previous capital budget for the borough is being funded through debt. We're taking on bond anticipation notes to fund those projects. These are being funded through current funds in our capital improvement account. So we're not taking on any debt for these capital improvement programs.
Anyone else from the council would like to comment? Not, I close the council's comments, open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and call for a motion, a second, to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in the local legal newspapers as required by law. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Terry, second by Katie. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracolo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
We have two introduction of ordinances. Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-11?
Ordinance number 2022-11, an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Waldwick with the addition of Chapter 53B entitled Handbills and Circulars.
A motion and a second is in order to move and pass this ordinance on first reading and that it be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Terry, second by Don. On the question.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. We made a change to the ordinance that was introduced on first reading at the last meeting. This was really just to clear up a distinction between what is permitted of solicited material and what is permitted for unsolicited material. So specifically, if you solicit material, let's say, you received the New York Times, you are agreeing that the New York Times can deposit that paper anywhere on your property. If it's unsolicited material that you have not solicited, that material has to be placed either in a permanently installed appurtenance to the premises, designed and designated for the receipt of such printed material, or if there is none, placed on the ground at a floor at a point beneath the place where such premises receives its mail, or within a 3-foot radius of that point, or within a 3-foot radius of the front door to the premises. So that, in essence, that means if it's unsolicited material, you have to put it either in a location where the homeowner has designated for unsolicited material, or at the front door or a 3-foot radius of the door. So no longer will you find unsolicited circulars in your driveway, on your lawn, in your bushes, in a tree. So hopefully this helps contain some of the issues we have. That was the change from last time. Similar to last time, we also require that unsolicited material have information on where a resident can unsubscribe from unsolicited deliveries, and we have some enforcement mechanisms for if you receive unsolicited mail, how we hold the people delivering that accountable.
Anyone else? Yes.
I just have a question. If it's unsolicited, shouldn't the solicitor contact every resident and see if they want it? Like, why should people have to unsubscribe to something they never subscribed to?
The problem is you walk a very fine line with the freedom of the press. and an outright ban is unconstitutional. So in order to do it the way we have it structured, we think it would withstand the scrutiny a lot easier than if you would do an opt-in type scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Sarcola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Would clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-14?
Ordinance number 2022-14, an ordinance amending Chapter 32, Animals, Article 2, Dogs, Section 10A, Required Control of Dogs, changing Article 4, General Provisions to Article 5, and add Article 4, Waldwick Volunteer Goose Patrol. I forgot what it is.
Motion and a second is in order to move and pass this ordinance on first reading, and that it be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Don, second by Perry. On the question.
Sure. This is the establishment of a volunteer goose patrol. So this has worked well in Allendale. That's who we are modeling our program after. Allendale has a board of all volunteers for the goose patrol. They establish by resolution rules for everybody who participates in the goose patrol to follow. You and your dog can sign up to participate in the patrol. You are tested by two dog handlers to ensure that you have on-leash and off-leash command of your dog. And if you pass that test, you will be scheduled and volunteer through the volunteer organization to patrol our borough facilities and chase away geese with your dogs. So obviously, especially in the pool, in Borough Park, Veterans Park, we do have a geese problem, not unique to this area, but we're always looking for new ways to solve for that, and I certainly think this will help. It helps in Allendale. They have such success with the program, with the amount of volunteers, and with the interest in the community that they've extended it to their non-governmental facilities as well. So they do some stuff at like schools, but they also do things in some of the private developments that have larger grass areas to chase geese off there as well. So it's a successful program for them. This is the first step. The next step would be appointing the board, and following that, you would adopt by resolution the rules for that volunteer goose patrol. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Sarcola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, any unfinished business from the council? Anybody on the council have any unfinished business? Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed on Harrison, a new electric box was installed right at the corner of West Prospect and Harrison. It's tan in color. They had to dig up the ground, I guess, but are they required to fix the soil, because the soil is all over the sidewalk in varying degrees of thickness? So that needs to be taken care of.
We'll let the DPW look at that.
Okay.
We'll have
and-
the utility go out there.
Yeah.
and fix it.
Yeah. And then the fence at the tennis courts, it looks like someone vandalized it. The upper fence is detached from the support pole as well as the side, I guess, supports. The side, it's not attached to the down spout,
Okay.
down poles
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
So it's buckling like this. It
Yeah.
looks like maybe someone tried to get in after it was locked.
No. Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Any other unfinished business?
I have a question. I reached out to Patrick like 2 weeks ago. I was wondering if we heard back from the county about that pothole on Wyckoff Ave by the bridge.
We don't typically hear back from them. We just
Okay.
see that it's been filled. If it's still not filled, we'll follow up again.
Yeah, it's still not filled.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other unfinished business?
If the council would like to, I have an item for closed session, if they want to go into closed session tonight or hold off to the next meeting regarding the potential, the developers that have reached out regarding certain areas in the town. But you can either do it tonight or at the next
do it
meeting, up to the
tonight.
council.
We'll
Okay.
do it tonight. But no decisions will be coming, right? Any other unfinished business? New business? Anyone from the council have new business?
No.
Paul?
Mr. Mayor, just want to update it. The Environmental Committee wants to point out that, as Councilman Sherman had pointed out, the Earth Day events are going on Saturday, April 23rd, from 9 to 12. The Environmental Committee is going to be there. They're going to be offering, handing out trees, saplings, and also handing out bags as well, and also informational flyers, and have a table there at the same time. So I invite everybody to attend that, and we'll all have a good time there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business?
I have one item, Mayor. There's an item that was not included on the agenda tonight, as it was just finalized today. We have a request from the Midland Park Junior Senior High School through their continuing education program to use the Waldwick Municipal Pool. Their request is to use the pool one day per week, Mondays, for 6 weeks from 1:15 to 3:15. They would bring approximately 15 to 30 registrants each week through between their campers, ages 5 to 11. They would be supervised by a camp director and several camp counselors. They would arrive together by bus. No specific request for activities in the pool, just typical enjoyment. They'd arrive in their bathing suits and leave in their bathing suits, so they wouldn't require much for the changing facilities. Typically, this would be provided to the mayor and council in advance and through my memo. Unfortunately, they are in somewhat of they have a schedule that they're looking to keep in terms of scheduling their summer programs for their camp, and they've asked the mayor and council to consider this. We don't typically consider these types of requests. The only groups that we currently allow in the pool, to my knowledge, are the students from the Waldwick Middle School and High School who have pool parties at the end of their year. We do get a lot of requests from people looking to use and Scouts, did you say? And the Girl Scouts. We do get a lot of other requests to use the pool. There's a lot of camps like Hoop Heaven, martial arts studios. The pool's a desirable place to go. I know that they have not been considered previously by the mayor and council, so I don't typically bring those to you. This one, since it's a Midland Park program, open to Waldwick residents, and it's also run by the school district, I thought was at least worth having the full mayor and council consider. And again, the reason I'm bringing forward to you tonight is they'd asked for it to be considered. I do believe, if you were really in if the mayor and council were in a position to vote on this tonight, they would have to wait for the following meeting, but I wanted at least to give you the opportunity to discuss it, and if the decision was able to be made, give you that opportunity as well.
I have a couple of questions. Number one, are they going to do these programs the way our residents do before the pool opens up, or during the pool season, in which all our residents have been paying? We're going to have now 15 to 30 children in the pool.
So their program starts in June, so it would be during our regular season. It would be at times when the municipal pool is open to our members. There weren't times, so typically on a weekday we open up at noon. There aren't times before noon where we have availability to permit them into the pool. Either we have swim team or we have swim lessons, Golden Club, or setting up for our general opening. So we can't permit them in before 12. We were hoping to, from 12 to 2 is an ideal time. The pool's less busy then, but they're restricted in the hours that they have for their camp. They I think do like a turnover around noon, so they couldn't get here until 1:15. So that's why they'd requested 1:15 to 3:15. The other thing that we haven't considered is whether it would be appropriate to charge a cost to them. They haven't done this before. We haven't done this before. They asked about it, and I said it will be up for discussion from the mayor and council.
I think, we're having our residents come to a pool and pay. We have to have them park people pay also. And, this is a little bit of a burden now on the pool and our lifeguards. Now you have more people coming into the pool. Did Dick, the pool director, what did he say about it? he's the one that.
Yeah, I spoke with the pool director about this today, and from a staff perspective, we could handle the additional 15 to 30 people. The impact would be on the members of the pool who were there during the same time, and you know, what do the additional 15 to 30 campers have on their experience of the pool? But from a staffing perspective, we could handle this addition.
I mean, I think we have to think about this, because first of all, we don't know if we're gonna charge them or not. And if we do charge them and we tell them what the charge is, they might not wanna pay. So we, you know, I mean, first of all, do we wanna charge them? I mean, we're charging our own people, our own residents. And I think if they're gonna use our pool, they have to pay also.
Yeah, if you were considering what to charge in, you know, I think a place to start would at least to consider that we charge a daily guest rate of $20 per guest tax. So you figure, you know, I'm not sure if you charge that the entire, should you choose to vote favorably on this, I'm not sure if you choose to charge them that whole fee, but at least that gives you kind of a starting point for what we would charge a non-member of the pool as a daily rate, $20 a day.
Are they charging these families that are, this is the camp now, are they charging the families a fee to be part of this camp? And does that price include our pool, or they have to go back to the families and ask the families, now you gotta pay a little bit more for water?
I'm not aware, and we can ask that question. You know, if we charge them a fee, will that be directly passed on to the families, if that's the question?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions we have to ask.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you're not prepared to vote on this tonight, at least lay out what questions you have so that I can go back to them, ask those questions to them. I can provide it to you at the end of this week when they respond, and you'll have enough information to vote on this at the next meeting.
So is this the camp that, it's sponsored by Midland Park, not a private club or a for-profit business?
Sponsored by the Midland Park School District Continuing Education Program. It's
Got it.
not the Midland Park Rec Program
Got
that
it.
we would
Okay.
typically know, not the one we advertise in our Friday email blaster that our residents typically participate in. Though I do understand that there are some Waldorf residents that participate in this program.
Got it.
That brings up another question. If we say yes to them, and then now the Midland Park Rec Program wants to come here, now we have more kids coming into the pool. We are able to accommodate everybody, and also accommodate our own people.
Yeah, the Midland Park General Rec Program hasn't come to us yet. If they did, depending on size and depending on the will of the council, I mean, you know, you can, I think we can, the pool can accommodate anything. I mean, on busy days, we have hundreds of people there, you know, on a weekend. We're able to sufficiently staff for that. So, yeah, I think during the week, we can definitely staff for it. The question I think you would want to consider is, how does it impact the experience of our Waldwick pool members? I think that's the biggest thing. If you get over that hurdle, then I think we want to adequately cover our expenses. So depending on, you know, how many lifeguards we have to add for those shifts, and I'm sure that they're available, you know, what's a fair and reasonable charge for the campers to come to our pool?
Well, what does our children pay?
$20. What, if you're under 18, it's $15. But when you say our children, when we do it for like the Girl Scouts
No, I mean.
or the pool, there's no
No,
charge.
a regular resident, a young resident that comes to the pool. they pay
$15,
$15.
it's a $15 daily guest tag. So that's not the member rate, that's a guest rate.
Could we require them to become members of the pool? They are eligible to
Yeah.
become members
Members.
as long as they pay that out-of-town fee.
Yeah.
And then they come every day.
You certainly could. I think for the 6 days they're looking to come, I don't think that would be, possible for them to do, but you can request whatever you like, you know.
Might be cheaper for them to do that than to pay a daily visitation fee.
Even the daily visitation fee on 6 days, $120, that would still be less expensive than paying for out-of-town membership.
I think we have to find out if they're willing to pay. I mean, we don't know. Do they think that they're coming here and they're not gonna be charged?
No, I think that they were waiting to find out from the mayor and council, so I brought that up with the person at the the school today, and and I said, have you considered what you pay and what would be comparable for what you pay elsewhere? She said, we haven't exactly, we're waiting to see kind of what the response was from the mayor.
Well, first of all,
But
do
we-
you want to?
Yeah, do you want to do it?
Do you
Yeah.
want to have us think about this program, or just tell them, thank you very much, but no?
Well, I don't think, it's a pretty big pool for a couple hours on a Monday afternoon. I don't think 30 kids has a big impact on the activities or even the staffing. I think it'd be okay to charge them anyway. Whether that leads to the summer rec program wanting to come here, I think would be a separate conversation. I don't really think they're the same.
Right, one does happen to.
Yeah, of 120 kids versus, 30 kids.
Right.
So I would be receptive to it. I mean, we try and partner with Midland Park where we can, and if they, want to, start a negotiation for this, I'm okay.
I also would agree to negotiate if it works out.
Yeah, I would be open to it. We'd need further discussion to make sure they bring adequate staff due to the age of the children, because that's a little bit of a concern. They'd have to pass the deep water test. There's a lot of fears with young children in the water. And we definitely would need supervision just from their own staff members. So I would be open to it.
You're open?
Yep, I'm all for working
Mike?
together.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I can't hear.
Oh, he can't hear
I'll
anybody.
follow up with
All right, now about,
Patrick will
what
follow.
I would like to do also is if you,
Okay.
when you speak with them, like what Terry said, there is a concern about the young kids being in the pool and if they can swim or not. Maybe you should have a meeting with Vic, if Vic is the pool director, and he should be there to be able to let them know what's going on and how he expects them to act and what we have to do. I mean, if they're gonna be our guests in our pool, we wanna make them feel comfortable. And Vic is gonna be there all the time, so Vic's the one that will be able to do it.
And then the only other thing I would ask for is at least some type of some guardrails on what you think the cost might be so that they know if this is worth pursuing. I don't think we need to drill down on an exact number, but are we talking about, $500 for the year? Are we talking about $2,000 for the year? I mean, what do you think? Again, $15 per guest, so I think you do it per child that they have, right? And if our guest rate for under 18 is $15 a day, it might be fair to think about what we would charge them per day. That might be the closest. You want it to be the same?
Should be the same as anybody else is gonna be paying.
You figure it's, yeah, it's gonna be no more than,
Not yet.
Well,
but
they're only going to be there for
2 hours.
2
Couple
hours.
hours.
I can't see charging.
You wanna do it in half? Cut it in half?
How many guests can one member have at a time?
unlimited.
That means that if one of these people was a Warwick member, they could admit all these people anyway.
That's right, yeah.
So, can we really say anything
Well,
about that?
I
Other
don't
than
think
paying-
I say they could, but, if we had a summer camp coming into the pool, I think that we would have other consideration. I'm not certain, that we will, but your point is a good one in that, yeah, you could have someone who has a party for 15 of their children's
Every single
friends
day.
come on over, and next thing you know, they're all jumping around the pool, and we're not aware of it. So, yeah, I think that it is good that we have kind of some framework for this, and
So
they'll
I
have some
think
other
that's what-
supervision.
If we can control that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely think we should think about it.
Unless you wanna ask them what they're willing to pay.
I'm okay with half. I think you threw that out there. I mean, we're talking about 2 hours,
Yeah.
1 day a week for 6 weeks?
That's right.
Half?
Half, yeah, 750.
750?
Yeah. All right, we'll go to them with it.
Nick-
I think it's
Katie
worth
shaking her
it.
head yes? Okay.
Yeah, just make,
I think, 750 is a good place to start at least, right? Because even if you think that that's too expensive, I think maybe you're talking about they come back and say we can pay 350. I think you're in a good ballpark there at least, even if you think it's too expensive.
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to set up their program, and part of their program is, we'll take the kids to the pool.
Yeah.
And that's something nice.
Yeah.
And
They
Midland
want to be
Park
able.
doesn't have a pool, they come to our pool, and the kids will have some, fresh air, and be around the kids and swim in the water.
Yeah. And who knows?
It's nice.
Maybe we get some members out of it.
Yeah,
All right, just make sure Vic is around when you do that.
Yes,
You have anything else for us, sir?
that is all. Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else for new business or in the council? Not? If not, anybody from the public would like to comment on anything, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. And after this meeting, we are going into close. We will have no decision being made, probably be in about 15, 20 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lori Gillen on Schuler Avenue. I've been here before, same topic. The water tank next door to my home. We talked about the trees tonight, that they were planted in January, which I'm kind of concerned of, like, why they would plant trees in January. They are coming out of the ground. I took some pictures if you guys would like to see them, but now there's water pooling around that property, which I never really experienced before. There was a lot of trees cut down prior to that project, which I can kind of see why that was the case, but now, I don't, with those trees coming down, there's water displacement. I don't know if there was an engineering project done on that to say, what is going to be, I guess the backlash of something like that happening with the trees coming down, and now there's water. I've been in my home for 22 years. I've never had water problems, and now I do. I have seepage coming up under my carpet in my basement, which I've never had before. It's not a lot, but with the storms that we have experienced over the course of these past few years with the environment, it can only get worse, and that's what's concerning. So right now I'm have rags there to try to soak up the water. I've also had an increased mice problem in my house. I've had exterminators come. I've had dead mice sitting on my kitchen counter. I've had feces on my kitchen counter. I've had to pull up part of my deck to get to underneath my house to where they're coming in. It's a constant problem. I have traps now up in both of my attics, and I really feel like digging up the ground. It's upset the environment. It's upset the water table. Those trees now are literally coming out of the ground. I had my landscaper at my house just to kind of do my spring assessment and what projects that we want to do around on my property. And he noticed that, and he said, those trees will never survive. I think it was a waste of money of the town. You're going to have to replace them. I am asking that I am going to now take ownership of planting trees along that way to block the tower, which now I view out of my bedroom window, and to stop, hopefully, some of that water coming in. And I would like to see if the town is willing to pay for that, because if those trees die, you're going to have to replace them anyway. So I would like to have those trees, planted that barricade that area. I would maintain them, and if they do die, then it would be up to me to replace that. But I am extremely frustrated with this whole process. Like I said, the mice and now the water. And I have a sump pump, and that sump pump is going, and now I'm getting water in another part of my basement, which I've never had before. I did have my house up on the market, and I had 30 families come in over the open house, and every single one of them said, what is going on with that tank? Is it noisy? What does it do? Is it emitting anything? It's a concern. And, when we bought that house all those years ago, we never had issues, ever. And now I'm dealing with a lot. So a lot of cost with my exterminator. Now, I have water, and now I have trees that I have to put up because those trees are just not going to survive.
Could Patrick meet with you at your home to look at everything there, the trees and your property and everything? Maybe tomorrow or whatever?
That's fine.
you
When
can
this
go.
project started, we never got notification. There was no letters in our mailboxes about this tank coming down. I looked out my window and I see this giant tank coming past my house, and it's enormous. I came here one time before to talk about how upset I was about that, saying that a fence is not going to cure it, and I was told that you were going to think about other things to do about that, and lo and behold, a fence did go up. And you all knew that the fence was coming, but you didn't tell me that. So, it would be nice to have a little transparency here about what really the plan is. because it's affecting me. I don't know about my neighbors behind me because that water now is probably pooling into their yards. But aesthetically, my neighbor across the street, you know, they just invested a tremendous amount in their home to improve it. And now they open up their front door, and that's what they're looking at. So it is extremely disheartening because we have that beautiful park next door. We live on a dead end, and it's always been peaceful and quiet. And now I'm dealing with exterminators and, you know, and again, the water that I can't, you know, tell you that it's like sopping wet and I'm, you know, but it's enough where I stepped on it and it's squishy and I'm, you know, I'm trying to clean that up. But who's to say that that's not going to be the only time, you know, especially with the way the environment is coming with these storms. So I just want to say my piece. I do have photos of the trees if, you know, if you would like them, but, you know, I appreciate your consideration about the other trees that I'm talking about to plant.
What's a good time for Patrick to come to your home tomorrow?
You know, unfortunately, I don't have my phone with me.
All right, you know what you do? Just
But I
call
don't know.
the town
I have to look
tomorrow.
at my calendar, because I do work from home,
Sure.
so,
Yeah, what you do is call the town and either get Patrick or Kelly and just tell them when you're available, give them a window. And then they'll work it out that they'll come over and look at everything and talk with you.
I appreciate that.
you.
And I appreciate some sort of resolution, not just to come and nod and say yes, and
No, I
I've seen
understand, we
this.
understand.
But I need some sort of resolution.
We'll have Patrick come out, and then from there, he'll address the council with the concerns and the issues, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Al Golden, Dante Place. I got 2 mice in my house, and my wife feeds both of them. They kind of listen to her, too. So. On this, I've been down to the park in Allendale, and the dog program is really working very, very well. Every dog's got a number on it. It stays right by the, their owner, and I think ours are going to work, very well too. The other question I had just fast is, on this code of handbills, that don't include newspapers, does it?
It
mean,
has, it has stipulations for both unsolicited and solicited newspapers, but what specifically is your concern? Because maybe I can speak to it.
Well, first of all, they're in plastic bags.
Yeah.
And 2, I'm just concerned that I'm going to keep getting it.
Well, the plastic bags can continue. The state law prohibiting plastic bags has exceptions for
newspapers.
Yeah, so that shouldn't be an issue. But that you're going to keep getting it. Let's say you subscribe to a newspaper, New York Times, let's say, you can continue to get that. This won't affect that at all.
Yeah. All right, I just want to be sure I'm still going to get it.
You'll still get it.
The paper for a while.
And if you don't, it won't be on our account at least.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Eric, excuse me, Eric Laporte, 3 Van Dam Place. I was just wondering if anybody on the council gets this magazine. Well, there's a write-up in there about Waldron, specifically the water. Bergen County's the 4th worst county in America. Okay, and then there's, according to Waldwick Water Department, they're in here also. And then also Ridgewood, they have installed the granular activated carbon filtration system, and it has worked 100%. On the next paragraph, as of this writing, I just got this 2 days ago. As of this writing, 7 municipal water departments in Bergen County do not meet standards. Garfield, Hohokus, Mahwah, Oakland, Park Ridge, Ridgewood, and Waldwick. Others like Bergenfield have put that filtration system in, and it's completely clear. I was just wondering if Waldwick, has seen this about Ridgewood. They got a grant, and if we're going to be doing anything, in the future to try to get a filtration system or grants to help the water system?
Patrick will answer your question.
Thank you.
So we've been in engineering phase for a little over a year to install granular activated carbon filtration systems here in the borough. That's a project that I discussed earlier, $3.5 million. That is to place 2 filtration systems at each well site, well, at 5 of the 6 well sites, and then we'll pump water from the 5th well site to the 6th well site. So all the well water will be treated through those systems. The $3.5 million will be supported by just over $1 million that we received from the ARP money, the COVID stimulus money, and we also get $500,000 principal debt forgiveness from the state financing that we're receiving, and then we will be applying for other grants. You know, you never know if you receive them. What Ridgewood had applied for was the federal government's fiscal year 22 direct community funding. And it's a competitive program. Each congressman has the ability to submit 15 projects to the federal government. They go in a subcommittee. The federal government decides which of those that they'll fund. So it's very competitive. That process is ongoing now, and so the borough will likely make applications. I'm not sure if this will qualify for that because we have to install it this year, and this is for fiscal year 2023. But yes, we'll pursue all of
I mean, it
available
just
funds.
doesn't look good because they listed businesses in our town too, you know, in here.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree. It's certainly something that we take very seriously. It's also something that the presence of it in our water is nothing that we have control over.
right, I
So while
understand that. I mean,
while it's
but it's like a
unfortunate-
drop putting it in a pool,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. But all we can do is work as expeditiously as possible to remediate the problem, and that's what we're
Okay.
doing right now.
Thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to go into close? Motion by Don, second by Katie. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Everyone have a happy Easter and a happy Passover.